Strength and conditioning community. Corey Digman here from Digman Fitness. I want to welcome and introduce you guys to our strength conditioning program, understanding each phase of your workout. So I want to dive into why and how we fit in each phase within our strength conditioning program. Why strength is important, why conditioning is important, and most of all, what I want to get out of this is to talk about how corrective exercise can be utilized within your normal plan, whether you are a recreational athlete or someone that is looking to lose a few pounds, gain some strength. The biggest thing I want to have you get out of this is understanding how and why corrective exercise is going to be important for you. So defining first what corrective exercise is, it is a series of movements to enhance our positions within our career, within our recreational sport, or movements that can be done in our program to make sure that you are in proper positions while you're deadlifting, while you're squatting, while you're pressing, while you're pulling. This is all going to be important for you. So there are common alterations that happen throughout our daily movement patterns, throughout repetitive movements in sport or career, and even altered movements that happen from surgery. So if you're someone who had a past injury and went through a rehab program and didn't quite get back your normal flexibility, your normal mobility, things are different, but you want to do your normal tasks. You want to gain a better position and even get back to where you were before for your sport or given sport of life, I should say. So common alterations on daily movement patterns are important to understand. Repetitive movements in your career are important to understand also, because if you get into a regular strength conditioning program, you're really going 100% on improper movements, improper progressions. That can only make things worse for you. So we need to understand what to do to impact what you're doing in everyday life, okay? So before we get into what assessments we cover and how to incorporate corrective exercise, we want to talk about common postural dysfunctions. So there's 3 different postural dysfunctions throughout the upper and lower body. First one being one of the most common is called lower cross syndrome. So it basically affects the pelvis. So we want mobility around the pelvis, whether they have flexor, hamstring, glute, complex, but also we want stability. So if we're running, jumping, lifting, doing any of those movements, we want to make sure that we have proper alignment, or else we're going to have issues with our spine and we're going to have pain, lower back pain, hip pain that transfers all the way down to your knees and ankles, or even up to through your shoulders and neck. So this is important to understand. So there's short muscles and lengthened muscles. I won't get into detail on this, but just know that we need to activate, we need to be able to understand that integrating corrective exercise movements for short muscles and doing activation techniques for lengthened muscles and stretching techniques, whether it be active stretch, dynamic stretch. We can get in more detail with some of these stretching techniques in a different video, but understand that we need to stretch and lengthen short muscles so that we can be in better positions. Okay, so not other muscles are taking over. Okay, so for instance, if our glute complex, glute medius, our outer glute muscle, for example, or even our glute max, the bigger glute muscle that offers extension for us, are underactive, our lower back is going to take over. Our quads are going to take over. So these things are important to understand through assessment, which we'll get into later. Upper cross syndrome is that common forward head posture, forward shoulder roll. There's short muscles and lengthened muscles, and there's common injuries that happen with this that can be prevented, are headaches, bicep tendonitis, and everything's connected throughout our whole body. So if you have the forward shoulder roll and that forward head posture, a lot of those things can transfer down through the elbow and the wrist. And then the third postural dysfunction is pronation distortion. You may also see, if you notice anybody in the gym that has kind of the knee knocking position, the foot collapse, injuries that happen, with plantar fasciitis, shin splints, Achilles tendonitis, knee issues that aren't related to meniscus or ACL or even arthritis. They can be prevented through lengthening techniques via foam rolling, stretching, PNF stretching, which we can get into in another video or even later. So understand that these things are common, but you can do exercises that help these positions or help yourself get in a better position. So really briefly, common overuse injuries. There's a lot around the wrist and the elbow also. Just know that through assessment, there's simple things like a release technique, cross-friction technique you can do within the forearms, the flexion extension muscles basically to make it simple, prevent against carpal tunnel, and even into tendonitis. The cross-friction that we do, you can do by hand. We can get more specific in another video with this, but just understand that there is release techniques via stretching and inhibitory exercises like using a tennis ball or even thumb to help relieve this. So elbow tendonitis, golfers and tennis elbow are very similar. It just happens to be on either side of your forearm. So where to begin to help prevent injuries, help prevent carpal tunnel, elbow tendonitis, shoulder impingement, hip pain, lower back pain, ankle, all those things starts with a static postural assessment. If you get it, stand next to a wall, what we do is take a picture, we compare every 3 months, we reassess, just like we reassess our strength and conditioning goals. We see what your shoulders look like, we see what your head posture looks like from all these different positions here, see what your hips and ankles and knees look like, so that way when you get into a squat assessment and movement assessment, it just reinforces that. And I understand through seeing these positions, I know what is overactive, I know what is underactive, and there's things you can do. Okay, so after the static, you have a dynamic assessment like a simple walk test, either on a treadmill or walking up and down the gym. You can see what's happening at the ankle, the knee, the hip, and even up into the upper body. Everything's connected. And into an overhead squat. Simple assessment like an overhead squat can show a lot of things with under overactive muscles throughout the neck, the shoulder, the core, and even down through the hip, knee, and ankle. Okay. And if we have athletes that are doing a lot of change of direction, most sports are really dependent on a single leg posture. So we need to be able to integrate exercises that help enhance mobility, aka better positions for our joints, and stability. So it's a big balance. Strength is important, agility, all that stuff is important. But if we don't have stability at the joint and mobility, there can be injuries, no matter how strong you are, how fast you are, how conditioned you are. So then we take from there. If we have an overhead squat assessment, for example, if you're falling forward under your toes, you're not maintaining good position with your midfoot, you can segmentalize and look at the ankle first and work your way up. So if we do an ankle test, ankle wall test, for example, you want to keep your heel down as you drive your knee forward, as seen on this picture here, without lifting your heel. That's optimal. Lengthening techniques with foam rolling and stretching to enhance that mobility at that joint. Even into an overhead reach against the wall and then a hamstring test. Those are kind of the most common three. There's more that you can that we incorporate, but that's just an example. So a lot of lengthening and activation exercises just by looking at those tests. So segmentalizing is important after the dynamic movement. And then we take those notes and incorporate exercises, lengthening exercises or activation exercises within your plan, within your regular strength conditioning plan. So after we've went through an assessment, we've got the correct exercise plan, now we can identify your goals. Okay, if you want to lose weight, you want to improve mobility, you want to compete in a sport. What are the demands of those activities? So besides stretching and doing basic strength exercises, we need to move in a fashion that replicates that environment. If it's overuse, if you're at the desk and you're using, it's a repetitive at desk at the computer movement with your wrists and forearms, we need to make sure that wrist and forearm exercises are high priority in addition to your regular strength conditioning, okay? Testing, cardiovascular strength, measurements, all those things are important every 12 weeks. We do those tests, whether you're a virtual client or in-house. Do those assessments, reassess, and make new goals. So getting into the workout routine, there's a few examples as far as cardiovascular tests that we do. Whether you're just a recreational gym goer that wants to lose a little weight and gain strength, we have basic tests. If you're a recreational athlete, then the tests get more specific. So these are just a few examples, just a simple step test, 3-minute step test, measuring, going at a cadence of 96 beats per minute, and then measuring heart rate after a minute, and then retesting that and seeing how well, after your program, testing and seeing how well you've improved and how well you've improved your cardiovascular endurance. Walking, running test, same way. If you're a walker or runner, then you test this, okay? Strength tests, again, get specific if you're an athlete, or just picking an upper body test if you're passionate about bench press. We're doing bench press in your workout, and we're retesting it. If you want to just gain upper body strength and endurance, a push-up test is great for that. Just remeasure every 12 weeks. Squat tests, deadlift tests, and so on. So upper body push-pull, like a push-up or bench in a row, are the foundation for upper body. In the gym, we want to test and measure a squat and a hinge. So those are important movements that we do outside the gym, whether you're an athlete or not. If you want to be healthy, you want to live a long life, then you need to do those exercises. Variation of a squat, variation of a hinge, and push-pull variations on the upper body. Okay, so putting it all together, what's it look like in a routine with me? We first take those action items that we found in our assessment in the beginning. We start with foam rolling, building some blood flow in those tissues that you're going to be using, lengthening the fascia, so that way stretching and other exercises become a little more effective. So research has shown that foam rolling, in addition to forms of static dynamic stretching, PNF stretching, are very effective at gaining range of motion and helping mobility. So you start with the foam roll, and you get into a dynamic warm-up. So that dynamic warm-up has a few purposes. Number one is to elevate the heart rate at a level at which your workout begins, so that way your body isn't too much shock. And then again, lengthening muscles in a way at which you're doing contract, relax, and you're working through movements that are similar to the routine and similar to your goals. So this whole warm-up routine, your foam rolling and this dynamic stretch. And third, your activation is 12 to 15 minutes in this order. So activation gets specific. So if you're doing a squat, we want to be able to brace properly with our core. We want to be in good positions. So we want to take a band, for example, and do banded hip-ups. We want to hit a plank position where you're really feeling that you're drawing in your abdominals and you're keeping your pelvis neutral. These are all important to finish up a good warm-up to get to the intensity, so you're able to brace and feel like your whole body is connected before you do your squat or deadlift or even upper body. Everything is connected. The core is important to be able to integrate. And then we get into our strength portion. So we do a lot of different agility movements. Whether you're an athlete or not, agility, power movements are all beneficial to prevent falls as we age, or even in adults. You know, power and strength run hand in hand to keep longevity. Build strength, burn fat while you're at rest. It's just the most efficient way to be healthy and to burn body fat. So strength training is important. Conditioning is also important for our lungs and our heart, our cognitive abilities with our careers. So we split up, strength first, conditioning latter. If you want to combine both, just general health, we do back and forth and circuit style conditioning movements. There you have it, guys. If you need to contact any information about our virtual programs, we have programs set up for those that are wanting to do your thing on your own, even if you're in the gym or not. Set up learning modules for you guys. So all the information is found on the website or social media, Instagram, Facebook, Digman Fitness. Have a great day.